This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. Thank you all for joining us today. I know there's probably some new members out there based off of having almost 500 people viewing from the start.
Let's go.
Let's go. You guys are here for the tea, I see. We got a few things to chat about before we get into this first weekend of the heads-up match between me and Airball.
Can I go to the bathroom first?
Yeah,
I gotta take a break.
We're gonna have to ask you to hold it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, we've been on for 10 seconds, so it's like I feel like it's time for a break.
I've waited long enough. Okay.
The foot's being put down.
I can't do this anymore. What on earth is going? If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you are trying to be a part of the chat, you have to be a subscriber only. So for everybody new here that hasn't already smashed that bell, please go ahead and do so. I also want to give you guys a quick reminder that we have two academies coming up. We have the Poker Out Loud Academy coming up April 15th to the 18th. There are 2 seats remaining for that. So head over to academy.solvefory.io if you're interested in that. Also, we have our MTT Academy, which will be led by Matt Hunt. That's May 24th to the 27th. He's doing some great stuff for us as well as for GTO Wizard. If you're interested in that, head to academy.solvefory.io. Click on the banner up top. It'll give you more details in how the academy works and what the structure is. Before we actually get into the shits of all the things heads up and everything else, I want to give a heartfelt, sincere sorry, I guess, to the family of Thayer Rasmussen. I knew I was going to botch that. He sadly passed over this weekend. Thayer was an OG from the pre-Black Friday days, was a monster on the MTT felt, played with him a bunch. I knew him indirectly. He was good friends with Brent Hanks and that whole crew. I know he was good friends with Sean Deeb as well. Got to hang out with him a few times. Actually, you may have been there, Lamanna. The last time I saw him was, oh man, Phil was still here, Collins. So this must have been like 2013 or 2014. We all got, we'll call it a dinner at the lodge. Not the lodge poker room.
No.
There's a chain.
24-hour gaming.
Yeah, there's
bar
and grill. We'll call it.
Yeah.
It's very smoky in there. But it was a very mixed group. So there was an adjacent group of friends that Brent was very close with that we indirectly got to know very well. Carter King,
I was going to say. Is in there, yep.
Thayer was a part of that group. Deeb and the like. We were all hanging out. Like, I don't know if we were doing fantasy or whatever. You know, it was typical Brent weekend, just wanting to go get some beers, sit on the side. And Thayer was there. And at that point in time, I'd only ever played with him, but had never actually had a full-on conversation with him. And I have to say, like, he was a very intelligent, like, thoughtful guy, very opinionated, held his own in intellectual debate. Especially with Phil there, was an interesting back and forth. That's probably like my most fond memory of Thayer. So very sad to hear of his passing. I noticing that, you know, as us OGs last a little bit longer in the game, this is happening more and more, and just kind of something that we have to come to grips with. So huge condolences to family and friends. Want to wish them well and give them our thoughts. Now on to the most interesting thing that happened this weekend. Bar none. There is no bigger story than this in the world. Andre Agassi's playing pickleball.
I know, what? It's crazy.
Playing fucking pickleball. Andre Agassi, John McEnroe, Michael Wang.
This is what you do once you're over the hill.
Well, according to him in his exit interview, he said, pickleball is where tennis players go to die, and it's clear that I'm dying.
Yes. Well, you were never a tennis player.
Right.
To be fair.
Right.
Right? It's like, you know, if you're in tennis and you get older, like if you're in tennis and you're 25, you don't transition to pickleball.
No.
But if you're 60,
right,
you're probably going to transition to pickleball.
It's like going to softball after baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I play competitive softball now.
It's what you would consider aging gracefully.
Right. Well, no, it's not that. It's a transition sport.
Yeah.
You know, you can still like these guys can compete at seniors pickleball at a very high level, maybe the highest level. They might be able to become the best in the world very quickly. And that's pretty amazing whenever tennis has a shelf life. Like outside of Serena, and I guess maybe McEnroe and Agassi played a little bit into their mid 30s. Tennis shelf life is like late 20s. You know, you're kind of just like out unless you're the best of the best. I guess Federer lasted.
Sure, there's exceptions.
Yeah, there are exceptions to the rule, but like that, it's the average career for tennis is probably comparable to like the average NFL lineman. You know, 3 to 5 years.
Running back.
Yeah, you're out by like age 24. They start younger, obviously. I'm pretty sure Agassi and Roddick won. Okay, I guess I don't know for sure based off of this clip, but I'm pretty sure Agassi and Roddick won, which doesn't surprise me. Roddick looks great, man. He looks like he's still getting out there and just really rip it.
He's not that old, right?
I think he's like 15 years younger than those guys.
At least.
Yeah.
I would guess he's like late 30s,
That's
maybe
what I would
my
think.
age
Yeah.
at most.
Right.
And I think Michael Wang. Wait, is it Michael Wang? That's
Chang.
Michael Wang's the poker player.
Yes.
I think
He
Michael
probably
Chang
plays pickleball too.
probably.
A lot of transition.
Yeah.
It also might be pronounced Wong.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Wong. W-A-N-G Wong, like W-O-N-G.
Wouldn't W-O-N-G be Wong?
Sometimes W-A-N-G is Wong.
Are you telling me I'm Wong?
Just saying it's possible.
God damn it. How can you
Names aren't easy, man. I
same
understand.
pronunciation, different letters.
The only reason I bring this up is my ophthalmologist is W-A-N-G, and it's also pronounced Wong.
There you go.
I think maybe that's just a cop out for not wanting to be called Wang.
Possible.
That's just
Would
my
you rather
read,
be a
though.
Wang or would you rather be Wong?
Wong,
Yeah.
of course. Shout out to Ralph Wong. So I bring this up obviously because I love pickleball.
How many breaks did they take?
Not enough, clearly. When you see Agassi's post-game interview, it's very clear not enough. He was sopping in sweat, just dead. But they did end up winning, so they won 12-10 in the rubber match.
Back in a setting like this.
Yeah, nothing like being on national television, playing a game you don't know to really strike up the nerves. It was so much fun. I was told, listen, any excuse, I need to create a new thing to learn so I can just trade texts with Andre for the next 10 weeks again. It's been so much fun.
And Andre, it's been so fun to watch you compete against so many of your friends. What has it meant to be out on this pickleball court? And have we made a pickleball player out of you?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I love finally doing something I can actually get better at because I started going downhill in tennis a long time ago. And pickleball is where tennis players go to die, so I'm officially dying. But what I will say, 100%, guys, listen, I never thought I was going to say this. I'm playing this as long as I'm not, like, as long as I can walk, I'm playing it. I can't wait to get back after it.
Honestly, like, this is genius for the growth of the game. So they put up $1 million prize pool, got 4 of the biggest names in tennis. It was awesome to watch. They're not elite yet, but they're very fucking good.
Yeah.
Genius by ESPN. Also dumb by us because this is going to be one of our most watched videos, and now we just got demonetized. But you know, worth it. Fucking worth it
This
for you guys.
shows your dedication to pickleball, Matt. It's not worth the money to us.
Today's the pivot. Today's the pivot into the pickleball realm. We are now officially
Pickleball podcast.
a pickleball podcast.
Yeah, you are not a professional poker player. You are a retired pickleball enthusiast.
No, I'm a retired poker player who's about to be a professional pickleballer.
Right, just like Nick is an investment banker.
Exactly. You understand.
You got to see the plot. You know, you got to play 4D chess out here.
Yeah.
Professional poker player pivots to pickleball podcast. Say that 5 times fast.
I'd rather not.
You can say it one time fast, just like that.
It's gonna be me and Pickleball Dan out in these streets.
Dan Smith?
Yeah.
He's Pickleball Dan now?
Yeah, he's been for years. I always tell him he's a professional pickleball player, even though he's absolute average.
He's a professional pan player.
So he is a professional pan player. He and Darkus had a very small wager that Marcus would beat him with a frying pan in tennis. So Marcus says he's like a 4.0 rating. Difficult to tell, obviously.
Marcus looked pretty good with that pan.
It's
out
tough
there,
to say.
you know?
I mean, like, you know, he's using a frying pan, so it's really tough to like measure up his chops. But what's abundantly clear to me is that Pickleball Dan needs to stick to pickleball.
I love the sound of the pan.
It is very satisfying.
I wonder if there were stipulations on what size pan, because I mean, frying pans come in all different kinds of sizes.
I told him he should get a skillet.
Well,
It's flat.
yeah.
Flat's
right.
big.
Yeah.
Or imagine the griddle thing that we use.
Or yeah, griddle would be great.
in the Bahamas.
Yeah, griddle would be nice. You got flat on both sides. You could actually work in a backhand
You
here.
should make him use a cast iron. Really work those forearms. Those things are
The
not
bet
light.
just progressively gets to more difficult
Right,
pans
yeah.
for Darkus to use.
He jokingly said that he was going to use a baseball bat, which I'm confident he would lose.
You could not win with a baseball bat.
You wouldn't have enough control.
No.
But I think that they actually have scheduled another match where Dan is getting laid 125 to 1, so 1.25 to 1 on 100K that he can now win. And honestly, if I'm Dan, I would just do nothing but train my serve. Nothing else. Don't get better in any other aspect of the game. Just train your serve from now till then, because Dan was serving like it was a badminton game. Like they were serving the same, and Dan was using a racket and Darkus was using a frying pan. Like, if Dan
That's
can work
amazing.
up an 80, 90 mile an hour serve, just get a good overhand serve, Darkus is dead.
Yeah.
Because I asked him, I've never played tennis with any level of seriousness, but I played a lot of volleyball all the way through college, and I had a good serve. And I asked him, I was like, if Dan served hard, like, do you have any shot? He's like, no, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead. How would I ever return a serve?
Right.
I have a fucking frying pan.
Right. Like there's no holes in it, so it's like the racket speed.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
swing speed is not. You're not going to
the
be able to
swing
get to
speed's
where you
slow.
need
The
to.
ball's coming
Yeah.
fast. It's moving. You don't have a lot of margin of error there. So it's like, I remember I used to just I would mess around with like Gumby, and then Dolak and I have like fucked around a little bit. It's like I could serve decent. It was inaccurate and it wasn't, but it was hard. It was at least hard. Like if I had any chance of competing, it was there, because
Right.
once we started getting ground strokes, I'm dead. I swing like a baseball bat.
Right.
Do we know when the next time they're playing is?
The tweet, I don't think specified.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the longer that it takes for him to play again, the more edge gets given to Dan.
Well, depends what he's training. If he's out there training ground strokes, I don't think he's going to catch up. Like if Darkus is really a 4-0 and Dan's, a 2-5, a 3-0, whatever, he's not suddenly just going to get like a ripping backhand or, start picking lines. or
Yeah,
anything
but he
on
does
those
get more
lines.
time to improve on the one thing that he's bad at,
Well,
if he chooses to.
the one weapon that he's bad at, because a good serve would be a weapon.
Yeah,
this
I was
instance.
looking at the serve speed for Dan, and it was like between 40 and 45 miles an hour per serve. But if that gets up to like 60 to 70,
Yeah.
it gets a lot tougher.
Yeah, if he
to
can find a
return.
way to nearly double his serve speed, which is going to be hard because he's not tall, right? So I think like the lack of height, you really need to get long and get like that overhand whip. And he's probably never played an overhand sport before either. So it's like that would be the only aspect of tennis that I personally would be good at, because all I've ever played are overhand sports.
Mm-hmm.
You get into a ground stroke match, I'm dead. Dan's dead. Frying pan wins. Oh man,
I like how it's very easy to come up with quippy names like Dan versus the Pan.
that's great.
Dan.
It really is great.
Oh man.
Maybe. Oh, I was gonna say maybe Darkus could use a pickleball paddle, but they would just shatter because they're
Wood.
well, they're like honeycomb cores to give it like the sweet spot will pop and then the rest of it will dampen so that you can dink and stuff. But the tennis ball is like too heavy, so it'll just like bash the honeycomb.
Yeah.
Ruin it. Last note to speak about real quickly is big shout out to Conrad. He's out in the Thunder Valley as we speak.
Please don't let him in today.
Chip leading
Let's go, Connie.
the Down Bad Invitational.
Mm-hmm.
It's the down bad consolation.
It is the Down Bad consolation. So it was a 100K guarantee. Looks like they went well over that. Conrad is now 1/40 coming into day 2 with the chip lead, 615K. So
Let's go.
hopefully he turns that into a nice little score, can justify not being here. He's working his other job, getting it done.
He's a retired
Out there.
poker player, but he is a professional podcast host
Mm-hmm.
and bit inventor.
He is the bit inventor. He's done well with the bits. I mean,
Don't.
the Tortua bit is not for me. Honestly, he's so smart though. He's so smart about it because if he tried to include anyone else, it would have died.
Yeah.
But Lamanna will just play along.
I mean,
with
I'm always there.
literally anything.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm here for.
God, it's
a good friend.
you are really the Ed McMahon to his Johnny Carson.
I got to do something, you know.
You might be.
Someone has to, you know. Yeah.
You might be his only friend.
Yeah.
Oh man, we miss Connie.
Do we?
Yeah.
No. Where's Andre?
I'm sure he's got some words to say about it.
Where's Andre? He said he was going to be here.
Yeah, he had a fucked up voice.
Instead of Andre Hankshaw, we got Andre Agassi.
Big Agassi fan.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed watching tennis when I was growing up, even though it was a sport I never knew I wanted to dabble in. I kind of feel that way about golf too. I like having golf on in the background, watch the last like 3 or 4 holes. I have zero desire to ever compete.
Especially like Masters is coming up this weekend. So,
Big Masters weekend.
Masters is always fun to watch. I don't watch a lot of golf, but the majors are fun to watch.
Yeah. All right, should we get into the shits?
Well, we got to give congratulations to Corey as well.
I forgot about that. I did say that.
About old Corgasm.
That's right. Big Corgasm, our man.
Big Corgasm.
Yeah, he had an explosive weekend.
All right, Corey.
The Gasm ships the PKO high roller. Look at that, 21,000 in bounties.
Yeah, it's a lot of bounties.
That's 2x the first place.
Prize, yeah.
You know who second is?
You told me, so yes.
Yeah, I know.
But go ahead and reveal. It is Chance. Way to just dox his fucking ACR name there. You know, whatever.
Damn.
Hey,
Sorry,
man.
Chance. Unlucky, bro.
Nah.
Chance only had 3K in bounties.
Chance will be okay. I think he'll be fine if people even know who he is.
So yeah, Corey picked up a nice 31 ball for first there. Chance
Very
got
nice.
13 for second. Man, PKOs are weird.
That's what I said. Yeah.
They're so weird. Like, imagine you're just at the final table and you're like trying your hardest to scratch and claw and move up the ladder, knowing that there's like no more bounties for you to get.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's why you don't do that.
Yeah. Well, so wait. So
approach.
if he had busted Corey heads up, he would have gotten half of that 21K
I think you would have gotten.
or like some percentage.
He would
of
have
it.
kept his bounty. I haven't played PKOs in such a long time. I forget how the math works. But it's something along the lines of first and second are the same prize, and then you play for the bounties.
Right.
So if you win, you get to keep all of them. And then if you lose.
Right, but that's what I'm
get
saying. Like, it's
nothing.
this massive disparity, right? Corey has 21K in bounties. Chance has 3K.
Yeah.
So, like, did it work out? Chance might have had, like, a big bounty pool, I'm guessing. Like, that's...
But you get half, and they, like, half of whatever their bounty is, and they keep the other half? Isn't that how
I think
when you bust somebody?
maybe you play for half type
Isn't that
of
how
thing.
they work, I think?
I see what you're saying.
It creates a weird heads-up dynamic, right?
Right, where
like,
if they did it in the structure where someone that has all the bounties gets to just lose heads up.
even if they lose like half their bounty pool, like that's massive.
Yeah.
Massive for the person coming in with the...
Or if you have no bounties and then you just get to scoop all these if you win heads up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't
I've never played a PKO, shockingly. Well, I mean, not that shockingly. I'm an American who doesn't play online MTTs. So
Yeah,
I guess,
not that shocking. Yeah.
To combat a
shocking.
lot of the like potential cheating and stuff going on, there's definitely been more PKOs.
I love the idea of them. I'm just not intimate enough with the format to know like what I do or don't like about how it plays out. I like the Corey 121K. That's nice.
Winning 21K plus 13, so like 30 or whatever.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's nice.
Not too bad in a 630 smaller field event.
Well, not too shabby.
No.
Not too shabby. Tough field too.
Yeah.
Very dense with good player accounts, if you will.
Yeah.
a lot of good players in that field. A very good player with potentially 10
good accounts
that are also very good, allegedly, maybe,
potentially,
kinda. I'm gonna steal your bitch.
At least for tournaments, there's scheduled breaks. You know.
That is true.
every 5 minutes on the hour, you get a break.
That is true. So do we talk about this?
I think we get into it.
We have to. Do I have to fucking talk about this stupid heads up match? All right. I guess now's
That's
the
what
time.
the people want, man.
We're here for.
I'm very proud of myself for staying off of Twitter. I've gone on once to. I heard about Thayer's death. I got on, said something really quickly, got off. I've really been trying to drown out the noise.
Good. We're here to create the noise.
which I really appreciate. Landon's been on fire.
This is my calling.
Just 2 days of fire. Honestly, all right. So like, let's start with the decision to not stream this and work from there. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are upset that this isn't being streamed, and you have to see it from my perspective and understand what's happening here. I got called a scammer and a fraud by a guy who can barely rub two sticks together. Like, I can't explain to you how little this man knows about poker. You just have to experience it for yourself. I'm not trying to throw shots. I'm being genuine. This is my genuine assessment. Like, I know Brown Baller came out and said, like, oh, Nick is extremely talented. He's one of the best natural talents I've ever seen. Listen, after those first 6.5 hours of play, it's abundantly clear that he is just in a void, clicking buttons and praying that it all works out. So, like, to be called a scammer and a fraud by a person like that is not something I want to have to defend against, right? And the fact that somehow this loudmouth got a platform large enough for people to start rallying behind that cry, to me, is just like the biggest spit in the face and fuck you that the community could throw at me. So from my perspective, this is about one thing and one thing only: taking his fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason to agree to this. I don't care about anything else. And streaming is massively negative EV for my bottom line, because this coward immediately went to Daddy Doug and said, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Make me better, please.
Yeah, you kind of saw that when you and him had that kerfuffle at the Velatio where
altercation.
where you said something. He goes, yeah, me and Doug are gonna beat your ass. It's like, well,
right.
You called me a scammer, you called me a fraud, and you said you were gonna play me heads up, and now you're going to all of the resources you can possibly find to try to dethrone.
Yeah, right. Like, is Doug better than me at heads up? Yeah, he's better than me at heads up.
Oh man, the horror, the horror.
Yeah. Is the guy who's played the game in a format his entire career better than me, who's literally just looked at heads up ranges 5 days ago? Better than me? Yeah. He's better than me at no limit heads up. He's probably better than me at Badoogie heads up too. Maybe stud 8 or better as well. Probably all forms of heads up. I would actually say Doug Polk is better than me at those games. You know what? That's no shock. That is no surprise, because I have played Ring my entire fucking career. And the only heads up that I would get is when fish are buried and they want to continue to play. So I do. You oblige them. You be a good host.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get into some forced heads up scenarios where you play like a few hundred hands, maybe 1,000 tops. Like, nothing where it matters. Strategy literally won't matter. You're just outmaneuvering an emotional person. So like, I'm already perturbed to be involved in this match at all. I'm annoyed that I have to find 100 hours to dedicate to this. I'm annoyed that I have to be in the same room with someone that I just think is, let's say I think his character is in question. So the last thing I want to do is cater to his side, right? And I understand everybody would love for this to be on stream. I would love for it to be on stream as well. I get it. It's a big story. It's look, there are 1,500 people watching right now. Everyone cares. But I have to protect myself in this instance, because I'm not good at heads up, no limit, hold'em at all. I'm not studied in this format one bit. I'm not joking when I say I just looked at ranges last week. And we're not even playing 100 big blinds. We're playing 250, 500. There were times where we were over 1,000 big blinds effective, right? So it's like, I'm freestyling, baby. I'm trying to figure this out on the go. And I demand that he does the same, right? So that's why it's not being streamed. And my apologies to the community out there that you guys aren't getting your wish. I would love to be able to oblige, but I can't always be the person who bends over backwards and loses dollars for the sake of, I don't know, the betterment of a few, right? Especially when the whole narrative that was built here is that I am a fraud and a scammer in this industry, and a lot of people are echoing that sentiment. A lot of the same people who want to see this streamed, right? So I'm not trying to say fuck you, but like, you know, kind of bug off. Like,
Bug
this
off.
ain't about you, and it's not about like putting on a show. Secondly to that, the buzz around it not being streamed, in my opinion, is actually making this whole match far more fascinating to the outside eye. Rather than having 15 long drawn out sessions over 5 weeks, 6 hours in length each, forcing everybody into a watch party that they're not going to actually partake in, and this thing just fizzling out the way that we've seen matches in the past do. Now, instead, people are just tuning into Twitter. And they're just getting on and getting off. They're seeing an update from Landon. They want to know what the secret bathroom count is.
I feel like the Ian Rappaport of the poker
Yes.
community.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Do I want to see the winter meetings streamed from the MLB? Of course. Am I going to? Fuck no.
You can't see the secret bathroom meetings.
Right. Right. But who gets to give me a little insight to that? Ian Rappaport. He's there on the fucking beat.
I won't be in the bathroom spying. That I don't have time for that. I don't have that much dedication to the cause, man.
Respect to this man. Respect.
Well, there he is. I see. Well, you don't want to see that.
That's the strangest glory hole I've ever seen in my entire life.
Hey, I worked hard on that, man.
He looks great.
Well done, Guapo.
Oh, man. Big shout out to Avi. He says, from the poke interviews, I got the sentiment Garrett is about poker, Airball is about showmanship. If you call this showmanship, I think you are being incredibly generous as far as what he's hoping to accomplish. I just see a very self-absorbed person who wants the limelight and is getting it maybe for all the wrong reasons when this match is all said and done. Moving, I guess, a little bit away from the actual updates into the match itself. I don't want to talk hands today. We're going to have Matt on Wednesday. We'll do a strat chat and we'll recap some of the biggest hands over the last 3 days. But I have to say, it's been interesting to kind of observe how, when you play somebody heads up, there are adjustments that take place. And throughout enough hours, you're playing a different person by the end than you were playing by the beginning. I'm playing someone different every 25 minutes. Literally, things that were reliable 35 minutes ago are now suddenly being corrected. I honestly feel like I'm playing against a team.
It's kind of hard.
So for everybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, first and foremost, we had a big argument that you guys all saw went public. I haven't been on the pod yet to talk about it, but Nick wanted to have his friend Ishan sitting behind him for the duration of the match. So I got to tell you, I know that it was kind of said in jest, but get you a friend like Ishan who's willing to just come and sit and rail for 100 hours. God damn, that's tedious. I would not want to be a part of that. And from my perspective, it was very clear what the purpose to that was. Nobody actually wants to just, pat you on the back and say good job or anything like that. But from my perspective, it was completely strategic. One, it gives him an audience to play to. And number two, it gives him another set of objective eyes who's actually capable of writing a hand history.
Ishan is his version of what Lane Flack was to Helmuth.
Go on.
Where it's the support, you got this, easy, don't worry about it, in the sense of having that person that you can look to have that support from.
Well, I don't even think it's as much that. Sure, he'll help him get off tilt, and I imagine that's why there were 10 breaks yesterday as we played a bunch of big pots. But more so, it's just with no one in the room but the two of us and the dealer, we don't speak. He tries to generate small talk here and there, and I don't acknowledge it. I don't want to fucking talk to this guy. I want nothing to do with this person. He's not a good person, in my opinion. I think his character is completely flawed. I think the people that all you have to do is look to his outer circle, and I think that it's no shock. This whole thing has become this weird dog and pony show for the quote unquote hustler family, where they're all rallying behind this guy who, 6 months ago was trying to sell his watch for a buy-in, and now all of a sudden investment banking went really fucking well. Can we stop?
Yeah, bro folded a boat to Ethan.
Yeah, can we just stop with all these bullshit narratives? Just say you want some fame and you You found 5 million somewhere. Like, fine. Why is it? This is the other thing that's really bothersome to me. It's like, am I rolled to play 200, 400 with a 400 ante heads up, which is, you know, basically the equivalent of like maybe 3-6-ish? No, of course not. Like, that would take somewhere south of 10 million to be properly rolled for this. Am I rolled to play 100, 200, 20K buy-in? Yeah, I'll take 100% of myself, right? So it's like, did I sell for this match? Yeah, obviously. Did I sell enough? Probably not. I went pretty fucking aggro here. Like, we're trying to back it up. And I think that it's fine to take shots in these spots. But like, are we really buying the narrative that this guy just has all of himself? Can you guys fucking quit it?
Right.
Can you stop shaming the 20-year pro who's just like, you know, operating under proper bankroll restrictions and doing what you're supposed to do in order to lay off a little bit of risk in a spot that's highly volatile, and stop celebrating this clown who came out of the woodwork that was dead fucking broke 6 months ago and now suddenly has a bunch of money? It's like, guys, he is fucking backed, man. He's backed
100%.
Or his parents gave him a bunch of fucking money. Either way, I don't care where it came from, but stop celebrating it like as if he's out there crushing the streets and fucking rolling around in some hedge fund making 5 or 6 million a year. It's like, the guy was a goddamn junior intern. Let's not pretend like he's out here making fucking 8 figures a year. He's nobody. And we're making him somebody. And that's on everyone else. And if you want to make him somebody, God bless you. We all need a heel.
He's not Warren Buffett?
Yeah, shockingly, no. You know? Shockingly, no.
Yeah, there's always been that, call it public narrative of the whole selling action and this weird hero's cry that you just have to have all of yourself in some of these high risk spots, where it's like, if you knew the risk that went into it, as well as the overall amount of dollars you would need for this to work out, it's a fucking lot. And it's not where you get the money from in poker. Like,
Right.
Poker's not a thing where you go from $0 to $10 million.
No.
You can go from 0 to $1 million, but that's going to take a fucking lot of work. And then anything after that, it's going to be a long time unless you start drilling off a couple tournaments.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I worked hard to have 7 figures of worth. It's not like as if I'm just going to pony it all up in a spot where, you know, it's going to be volatile. Neither of us are very good at heads up, no limit. Right. So like, a lot of big blinds are going to change hands. But honestly, like, the biggest mistake I ever made was being honest about this stuff. You just never say anything. People just assume you're fucking giga rich. You know?
Mm-hmm.
People just assume like, oh, you've been around for 20 years and you've been competing and you've been winning. Like, this guy must have fucking 40 million. Like, you know, you Google Doug Polk's net worth, it's like $12 million or some shit like that. It's like, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Who fucking knows? Right? But as long as you don't ever talk about like where you lay off risk, where you take on risk, and all this other stuff, nobody assumes otherwise. They just assume everyone has all of themselves.
Yeah.
Until set up. Like, you can literally be.
It's like almost never the case, right? It's just like never the case
Bro.
that like that someone has all of themselves, except for like the Giga Wells who are just billionaires and just want to have some fun.
You could literally be a 26-year-old socialite from LA who 6 months ago barely had a 20K buy-in. Just start telling some fabricated story about being an investment banker who has tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and people just buy it.
Yeah.
They just buy the fucking narrative. It's like, come on, man. We've all been around the block for. I've been in private games for 20 years.
I think it's more fun to buy it, right? It's more like
Yeah.
You know?
No. This is yeah.
Right.
Lynn is a trust fund baby. You know, she just has infinite money from her parents. Like, we understand how all this fake shit works. She's been a tech investor since she was 17.
Startup investor.
My apologies. Literally on High Stakes Poker, her fucking profile says startup investor. Come the fuck on, people. What are we talking about here? Stop buying the scam.
She's retired now, by the way. She's a retired poker player.
How? How did these?
I'm a race car driver.
Yeah, that guy.
They call him the
Fucking race
tortoise.
car driver.
That's right.
It's just like, come on,
Slow and steady
man.
wins the race, especially in
Let's go.
NASCAR.
That's
Come
right.
on. What are we even doing out here? Like, Jesus Christ. And I'm the one who's getting called a scammer and a fraud. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Anyway, let's talk about these breaks.
You want to take a break beforehand or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Let's collect our thoughts. We're going to run a quick commercial here. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to smash that like and subscribe, would really appreciate it.
We do want you to do that.
Look at that. Pew, 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 pew.
So I had queen 6 suited, and I 3-bet him, and he fucking 4-bet me, and I was like, nah, fuck this guy. Bro, you gotta back off a little bit, man. You can't be so emotional all the time.
Don't tilt. You got him. You got him right where you want him. You're going to get all the money. He's going to give it to you.
All right. So getting back to the whole first debate that we had, obviously I was unwilling to have Ishan just rail Nick the entire 100 hours. Seems silly. We're playing a one-on-one sport here, like, or game, whatever you want to refer to it as. Like, involving a team is absolutely ridiculous, especially when this guy called me out. So eventually Phil kind of stepped in and he gave us 2 options. He said, since we're still in the discussion phase of the terms, either you can squash this right now and say like no match and then renegotiate terms, or you can let me rule on what I think the proper decision should be. And that's a little convoluted as far as like choices go. I was talking to Phil afterwards. I was like, well, from a game theory perspective, it's just like, it's sort of, we both chose correctly. Like, why would I take a negative free roll and let you arbitrate something when you're already giving me my solution in option A?
Yeah.
And for Nick, it's like, well, he's probably going to lose the arbitration anyway, but at least there's some percentage chance that he doesn't. So he's obviously always going to choose option B.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it's very interesting when it comes to if you have an individual make these decisions and be the arbiter, where there's some people that would say, oh, he clearly can't sit there. And there are others that would say, well, it's within casino rules, he can sit there.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of who you decide to make this choice.
Right. So like I wasn't going to take that risk. I just picked A and assumed we would iron out terms otherwise. I didn't think the match was ever going to not happen.
No, right.
So I picked A. And, Nick told me to suck a dick, and we both went on our merry way. And then, 6 to 10 hours later, he agreed to no rail. So we renegotiated terms. Everything was back on. We got the match rolling. And it was under the caveat that moving forward, Phil will, we won't have option A on the table anymore, which is fine. I didn't expect it to ever be on the table to begin with. He could have just not given me that option and said, like, okay, I'm going to rule on this. I would have accepted it. So moving forward, he's now going to rule on all disputes. And we have a dispute. So on day 1, Nick said, look, man, I drink a lot of water. I pee a lot, so I need to take some breaks. I'm like, okay. Like, I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, man, 6.5 hours is a long time. Like, I drink a gallon of water plus a day. I'll probably want to hit the head a couple times myself, right? So I'm like, okay, thinking in my head, like, within reason, that's fine. So we take 3 breaks on day 1.
Which is kind of reasonable.
Totally reasonable.
That's reasonable, right?
Totally
once every
reasonable.
2 hours, it's just like playing a poker tournament.
Totally reasonable. So
Right.
we take 3 breaks on day 1. And on the first break, he goes to the bathroom, and I'm just kind of sitting there, and I was like, well, you know what? I should just go because I don't want to be the one to prop up another break in like an hour.
Yeah.
So I walk in, I trail him like 5 minutes behind, and I walk in. And he and Ishan are like leaned up against the sink, and I literally, because the bathroom has like a corridor before you actually walk into it, like most do for privacy's sake. So I can hear them already talking, and I'm like, Queen 6 suited, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like,
You could hear the laugh.
No, they weren't laughing. He was very serious. I was smashing at that point. I was up like 200 already. So I walk in, I just give them an eye roll and go and piss, and they like walk out and leave. So I text Landon. I was like, all right, we had our first break. Already had a secret meeting with the emotional support human in the bathroom. And then he took it from there. But day 1, went pretty smoothly. Awesome session for me. I was up 400 at the peak. Ended up losing a big pot that, went weird. Oh, I do want to correct one thing. I know I said we're not going to talk about hands, but I saw Doug put a video out about this hand.
Hard not to see when Doug puts a video out.
Right. So I played a hand with 10-9 off on King Jack 7. Mm-hmm. Turn river was turn was a brick. River was the Jack of Hearts bringing backdoor hearts. And apparently Airball reported the hand that I went like B40, B30, B20 or some shit like that, like some de-escalating sizings. The actual hand played out that I bet 40% on flop, 66% on turn, and 50% on river, which could still be very criticized. I could go larger on pretty much every street. But it was very, very early in the match, and I was just kind of getting my bearings under me. So like I still played the hand very poorly, but nevertheless, I didn't bet third pot on the fucking river, like with 10 high.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot.
Well, that's up for debate.
Sure.
We're gonna find that
The
out.
only thing worth mentioning in that hand is that he somehow called with ace 6 high 3 times.
Yes.
He got you.
Like, okay, man, like you
Doug,
fucking got me.
Doug was trying to be as nice as possible. He's just like, this just it was kind of played poorly on both sides. Like,
I mean, like, yeah, you can scrutinize sizing, but like whatever. I'm not getting into strategy. I just wanted to correct that because clearly, hand histories are not going to be told very accurately from that side.
Doug did say that. He said that these
Sure.
he said the gist of them are correct, but like when you get the sizing so wrong, it's just like it makes
Are they
you
though?
look.
This just in.
No, I'm saying
Breaking news!
Breaking news! Amateur doesn't know how to tell a hand history.
It's good, yeah.
Oh man. So sorry, I sidetracked. But okay, so day 1 went rather smoothly. I was feeling pretty good coming into day 2. Looked over a few spots between the days and moved on. Came into day 2, and I will say that like Nick made some notable corrections very quickly out of the gate. It was pretty easy to notice. I got lucky in kind of a cooler spot where we played a 5-bet pot where I had ace king and he had jacks. Most of the money went in pre. So we put in 40K each pre with 80K behind, or 60K behind, sorry. So started the hand starting stack basically. So we arrive at flop with like 0.7 SPR, comes king, queen, jack. I bet 10% and call off a shove. End up rivering a 10.
Yeah.
Lucky day for me.
Let's do it.
That prompted our first break. He didn't even pay. He just left. He just left the room. I had to sit there for 5 minutes waiting to get paid. I'm not kidding. He just darted out of the room as the river hit. Came back, took a picture of what happened, finally paid off. We play on.
Took a picture.
Wait, you mean they just left the board out, everything?
Everything went untouched.
The dealer didn't like just slide the chips over to you? Or, no?
Nope. We just sat and waited. This was the theme of the day. Me sitting and waiting. There was another big pot that I won where I rivered a flush and he paid off, stormed out, didn't even pay for his massage. She just stood there like, what the fuck is going on?
Was he getting a massage the entire time?
Mostly, yeah. So again, just like storms out of the room, gone for like 6 or 7 minutes. The masseuse leaves. She's just like, someone let me know when he gets back so he can pay me. Finally, he comes back. And
you should have just threw a 5K off of his stack and said, "Here you go, keep the change."
We at 5.
We at 5, Nick.
Yeah, exactly, just like Phil.
Yo, we at 5, Nick.
Oh.
So yeah, like anyway, it turned out to be 10 total breaks over the course of 6 hours, which to call egregious would be
An understatement.
An understatement, yeah. I mean. So I thought Phil actually made a really good point. We were discussing in the arbitration chat. I was like, listen, like this can't be a thing, man. We can't have more breaks than hours played. Like that's ridiculous. And he's like, I have to pee a lot. And Phil's like, well, if I watch 6 hours of Hustler live, would you also take 10 breaks? And obviously the answer is no.
No.
Like he's away from the table maybe once in a 6 hour live stream.
Secret pee bottle under the table?
Break? No. No.
It's just break news. It's not breaking news.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I should start doing, is running a live stream every time that he goes on break. But I
Oh my god, that would be great. Actually, you just see like the notification pop up from the Sulfur Wise live, just like randomly throughout the match, and you just be like, "Yep," and here we are again, and you just point the camera to the empty seat, be like, "Yep, he's on break,"
yeah,
and then 10 minutes later, same thing.
That was a very good picture that you sent me to be able to report to the people.
The empty
chair. Empty seat.
Yeah,
with the chips like all slanted over.
All right, so all jokes aside, I actually want to talk about why this is so bothersome to me. It's for 2 reasons. One, it gives me few hours to play against Nick, where I think I have an edge. And number 2, even if I get those hours back, it negates the edge that I have now, right? So whatever my win rate ends up being versus Nick, it's obviously going to be far less hour 100 than it is hour 2. And it's abundantly clear that he's gaming the system right now to delay the inevitable for as long as possible. Like, his team wants to get through today as fast as possible with as little damage as you can imagine, so that they can grind Tuesday through Friday and try to cram, a decade's worth of heads up knowledge into his brain over 4 days.
I will say this whole charade is a testament to the fact that he could not do what he said he could do at the start of the bet. Where he said, I can easily beat this guy heads up by myself.
Right.
No fucking problem.
Right.
Now
yeah.
it's okay. I'm going to take breaks. I'm going to work with my team and get better
Delay,
and study.
Stall.
Right.
Right. Try to take every single advantage that you can. I mean, it's like, hey, play poker. You want to take edges, but this is ridiculous. This is not how you do it.
Like,
not when you already said.
I mean, here's the thing,
that you can beat him. Yeah.
Here's the thing, and feel free to chime in as you see fit. But like, to me, this is utter cowardice.
Yeah.
Like,
right,
if
exactly.
I call someone a scammer,
Correct.
and a fraud on the biggest platform in that industry,
Yeah.
I am certainly not going to be so overt about like how terrified I actually am of that person.
Right.
I mean, to take 10 breaks, and I caught him on the phone in the bathroom, like probably talking to Daddy Doug. It's just like, he's so shook, he can't play for longer than 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This is like 10 hands, maybe fewer.
10 breaks in 6 hours.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So it's like we're playing like 10 hands before he takes a break. He's so shook and needs advice so much, so often from his team that he has to, on top of that, and this is another thing that's like, at first I didn't care because I've been playing high stakes for so long. Like, we just casually let this stuff slide because to some degree we trust the environment that we play in. And also it's usually like a one-off. He's on his phone during hands the whole match.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a lot.
I'm to a point where I feel like I'm playing against a fucking team.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like I'm basically playing against, a version, like a super watered down version of Doug saying like, do X, Y, and Z repetitively.
Right. Well, in this situation, it very clearly comes off as trying to delay the inevitable and also trying to get as good as possible. There's a difference where when the match is going on, you say, hey, okay, I want someone to coach and help me study and get better, and you get better through that lens. But when you're playing the match itself, everything should be off the table in that regard.
Of
Right,
course.
exactly.
Of course, like, I understand that he's free to do as he wishes in his downtime. If you want to try to get better, that's on you. Go ahead. But like, to steal the time away during the match in order to cover up his leaks in real time, like, this is the most cowardice thing I've ever seen. And like, for a guy who got platformed by Polk to call me a scammer, this is the scammiest shit I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And like, Polk hiding behind the bushes saying like, I run a podcast, and if my guest comes on and he's a qualified voice to give his opinion on something, I'm going to amplify that and not push back. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? If he comes on there and starts talking about like Nazi propaganda or like some other wild, outlandish conspiracy, you're obviously, as a logical human being, going to say, well,
there's going to be some pushback.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't jump to such conclusions, right? Because that's what a responsible person does when they have a loud megaphone. Right. Or if you're Doug and you have an axe to grind, you just let somebody run their fucking flaps, and then you double down on it, triple down on it, quadruple down on it. And, get to a point now where we have this weird beef for what reason? Because I'm not good at heads up poker, or because we started a competing business around the same time? I don't fucking know. I don't know. I just know I don't like this guy.
Yeah, like when I played Bill, we both like chucked our phones away from the computer, and you couldn't talk during the gameplay. We played for like 2 hours most of the time, 2 to 3 hours. And then after that, like, he would call me sometimes, I would call him, and then he would talk to who he was working with, and I would talk to who I was working with. But during the match itself, there was a policy that we both just agreed to, that there was no phones to be used.
Yeah. Right.
And from your side, like, the only time I ever get reports or things along those lines are when there are the breaks, and it's always hands that you have been played already.
Right.
It's never in the sense of, okay, I bet this size, like, what are our thoughts here? And
I'm not
trying to manipulate in game.
Right. I'm not even saying that he shouldn't be able to convey information to people. Like that's completely fine. Shout out to Avi, super chatted us, said from Phil Galfond's perspective, you would have to be on your phone all day too, because him taking away cell phone use during hands would certainly be an unbalanced ruling against Nick. I'm not trying to say what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Like what I said in chat was, listen, I may have been guilty of this too, but I'm saying moving forward, we should never be actively on the phone during a hand.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. And I think that that's completely reasonable. And I got told to suck a dick again. So there's that. But yeah, I would be completely fine with us only having, 2 or 3 breaks and only having access to our phone during those 2 or 3 breaks. Totally reasonable by me. I'm going to remember hands better than him, so it's not like this.
As seen.
Yeah, it's not like this is going to be bothersome to me in any capacity. There's just like a million reasons for game integrity's sake where it's like, I don't fucking trust this guy. I'm sorry, I just don't. Right? It's like, I don't trust that he doesn't have charts on his phone. I don't trust that he doesn't have a direct line to Doug.
Right. And talk about real-time assistance.
Right.
It's literally like, I'm not saying that,
like
you said,
3-bet pots.
We don't know if he is or not, but like, why just makes rules in place to
it's like 3-bet pots on the turn, he's facing a bet and he's just texting away.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's like, come on, man. Right. It's like,
just the fact that you have to have that doubt in the back of your mind is like it should be a rule that you shouldn't be on your phone doing.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a break, you get your phones back and you talk, right? You have a certain amount of breaks for a certain amount of time.
Go nuts.
And then during, you just chuck the phone away.
Yeah.
And then you just play.
I mean, obviously, I'm completely fine with that, but in any event, I don't know that any of this is going to change. I think it's like clear that it's a stall tactic now in order to lengthen his ability to study and put in more quality hours down the stretch. So I think that that's something that I want to be clear. Like, we probably lost an hour of gameplay yesterday due to the breaks, but like, it's not equitable to me to get that hour back at the end, right? Because what's happening is I'm losing an hour when Nick is at his weakest point and my edge is the greatest. And when I get it back, I'm getting an hour back at when Nick is assumed to be at his strongest point and when my edge is probably going to be the lowest. So it's like, that doesn't interest me at all. And, we were talking about this today. I almost don't want to say it out loud publicly, but I have no interest in gaming the system. But like, say I get up 1 million and he doesn't want to quit. I just take 15 breaks. I got people to talk to. I got a business to run. I got shit to do. Maybe we only play for 2.5 hours that day because I got a shit. I got the squirts,
Right.
Sorry,
There's
guys.
clearly a line as to what is and isn't allowed under the constraints of the game.
10 breaks. I counted them. I text you every single time he left the room.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, he's on break again.
Yeah,
it was literally like every 20 minutes.
In the chat, it was always break followed by a number. It was like break number 6, break number 7. He stormed out again, break number 8.
Yeah, and it's like, half of them seem to be like him getting talked off a ledge, which, by the way, that's another reason why I think that, like that's whatever. I'm not gonna cry about fairness, but it's just like, this guy is a fucking monkey tilter, and I never get the Rampage version of this because he just gets to leave the room and get his back patted by his comfort doll.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck is going on here, man? You challenged me to heads up. You called me a fucking scammer. Lock the goddamn doors. Let's fucking go. Lock the doors. Take the phone. Let's just fucking get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here, man? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a pretty sharp observation in the sense of, if someone takes time away, the time that they get back later is going to be extremely valuable.
Yeah.
Because if your win rate goes from whatever it is to even decrease by half, that's a lot. And it's easier to not get as bad at heads up no limit as it is to become world class.
Correct.
Right? It's easier to fix the leaks now than it is to say, okay, how do I go from winning 5 to 7?
So like if you play 6 hours in a day, but he takes an hour's worth of breaks for that day, it only counts as 5 hours towards the gameplay.
No. It's 6. And that's, within reason, that was fine for me. Like, on day 1, he was like, I piss a lot. I'm like, bro, I drink I drink a gallon and a half of water a day too. Like,
imagine starting that out though. It's like, you got beef with someone and you have to play heads up. You're just like, yo, I gotta pee, man. I gotta go to the bathroom.
And it's like, what I was thinking was like, yeah, man, there's going to be some time over the 100 hours where I'm going to want to take an emotional break, or I'm feeling tired and I'm going to want like an extra break.
Right.
So I was just like really casual about it. I was like, yeah, man, like, we're playing 100 hours. I'm not going to sweat the breaks.
Right.
And then immediately he took advantage of that.
Right.
It's like, okay, you have no fucking interest in the spirit of the bet. You have no interest whatsoever in being a reasonable person with high character. You are just an absolute fucking scumbag.
I used to not understand why people weren't so lax about certain things, but now I understand.
Yeah.
You know, when people start taking things to the extremes and you want to iron out all of the details so there can't be any sort of game manipulation going on, it completely makes sense because it's unreasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like, in the world that I exist, I hate to use the phrase honor amongst thieves because I think it gives like a negative connotation to people who are gambling for high stakes.
To the thieves, if you will.
Well, no, to the gamblers. Like, I'm not trying to imply that the gamblers are thieves in this instance, but like what I'm trying to say is that the backbone of that phrase is that there's even honor amongst those who are the most cutthroat. And when you look at the high stakes community, even though it's filled with this eclectic mix of people that range from, the most upstanding citizens all the way down to the scummiest of scum, there's this like unspoken rule that we can be lax on the majority of things and not have to have ironclad contracts because the environment polices itself, and that fringe outlier of the scummiest of the scum are just looked after, right? It's always just unspoken amongst us, like, hey, keep an eye out for so-and-so. He'll do this, he'll do that. Scumbag Rich will try to angle you in these 5 ways, and we all look out for one another, and we don't change the rules because of the exceptions.
Right.
But when you're isolated with an exception, you have to fucking have ironclad contracts. And that's why when I agreed to let Galfond be the arbiter or the arbitrator, I guess both are.
It's both work.
Yeah, they both work. But moving forward, I said, okay, but the spirit of the bet has to come above any sort of like technical rule, right? Because like I don't want the same thing to come back where it's like, well, technically observers are allowed, so he should just be allowed to have a team sit behind him for 100 hours. Like, well, that's clearly not fucking okay in this instance.
Right.
Right. The bet was made that I will beat you in one-on-one heads up because you're a scammer. And now it's me and my boys are going to now start to play a team sport and make as much advantage of the rules as we can in order to potentially maybe win.
Right. I told him when we were discussing privately about, technically speaking, the casino allows Ishan to sit behind him for 100 hours. I was like, okay, well, I mean, technically the game isn't closed. It's just private. So I guess I'll just invite 4 people to sit down with 100,000 also, because technically there's no such thing as heads up, no limit.
Right.
We'll just play 6 max.
Yeah.
And what's he going to do? Technically speaking. Right? So it's just like, this is a non sequitur where it's like, sure, you can keep trying to manipulate everything in your favor because you're a massive fucking dog and that this match is going to go sideways very quickly, or we can just get it out of the way. Just lose your $1 million. Let's move on with our lives.
Well, and the same thing, like you can see from the court of public opinion that most people are on your side for this one.
Yeah, I mean, look,
think so, too,
he's going to get a lot better. Doug is very good at no limit, and if Nick is at all teachable, he's going to get a lot better, and I'm going to have to work my fucking dick off for 5 weeks to have a win rate that is, worthwhile.
Maybe, right? Because who knows how much better he gets in that time.
Yeah, who knows?
Which is fine.
But
if it's
I'm preparing
within,
for the worst. I'm preparing to, have to battle against somebody who's pretty sound.
Yeah, that's fine on the days that you don't play heads up no limit poker.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
From any day that's Tuesday to Friday, go nuts.
Yeah.
Saturday to Monday, absolutely not. Not during the gameplay itself.
Not during the gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Shout out to Avi, said, wherever there's money being wagered, players are going to try to gain an edge, and we have separate moral compasses. There's a thin line between gaining an edge and breaking the rules and cheating. Thin line, gray line, I guess. I'm not even accusing cheating in this instance. I'm just saying it's all very much against that energy that he brought on Polk's podcast. It's also very against the spirit of this call out heads up for rolls bullshit that we find ourselves wrapped up in. But aside from all of the kind of bullshit and drama that's been surrounding this, it's been fun. More than I expected. I don't think that I've taken the time to learn a new discipline in years. I mean, I stopped studying MTTs a long time ago. I lost interest. So like this feels like 2013 again, when I was really, really, really deep in trying to study MTTs as much as I could. And it's challenging, man, especially with like how many more resources and tools we have available to us now. It's like there is a very systematic approach that you take where it's like, okay, we're going to break down this today, and then we're going to break down this node today, and this node, and this node, and this node. And, you know, you're trying to streamline as much as you can because you have these matches looming, and then you're trying to tweak and adjust based off of observation, which is obviously going to be heavily biased. It's like, oh man, you know, I don't think he's 3-betting enough. It's like, well, you played 30 hands. You know, maybe he didn't find 2 to 3-bet. That's not that shocking in that sort of sample. So it's like, you know, all of this stuff is so difficult, but so much fun. Like it really gets the wheels turning. And for me personally, what draws me to poker is not the analytics. It's not the data says this, and if you plug that into a solve, then you do this half the time and you do this the other half, and you know, you move on with your life and collect your win rate. To me, it's like finding the creativity within all of that, right? Like being like starting with a framework is necessary, but then filling in the voids with your creative way to approach the game and your observation and the ways that you think your opponent's exploitable. Like that's literally heads up poker in a nutshell, especially in this instance where neither of us are very good, right?
Just poker in general. There's so many voids to find in MTTs, 6 max cash, you name it. It's just a matter of having the baseline and then seeing when someone's falling short. Like in the hand that Doug reported when Bro called 7-5 high with a flush draw and then spiked it and then leads river. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, if you're playing the machine's never going to do this. But you're not playing the machine. You're playing Airball Rick.
Right. Yeah, like the turn call is just like massive punt. And then the river is just kind of like, you know, not a thing, but whatever, we have to live with it. We'll break that hand down at length on Wednesday, give you guys my thought process in real time. Or I guess retroactively. Yeah, very interesting hand. A couple big pots just like went sideways where I probably could have saved a lot of money on the river. I could easily be up like another 200K with like some pretty nitty folds on the end where I just chose to pay off.
As it stands now, you're up about 135?
Yeah, 133.5. Broke dead even yesterday to the dollar.
That's crazy, to the dollar.
Yeah, pretty wild. We were down the rake.
Yeah. Well, you only played 8 hands because of all the breaks.
Yeah, so. Not that tough, man, actually. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting after it again today. So we'll have a lot to report on tomorrow. Platt and Hanks will not be joining us again. Tomorrow's the final day of the USP. I almost said CO. So the US Poker Open wraps up tomorrow. It's their final day in the booth. They'll be back with us next week. Wednesday, we'll be joined by Matt Hunt to cover another Strat Chat breakdown. It looks like for the next 5 weeks, those Strat Chats are going to be based off this heads-up match. So if you guys want some updates as far as what's going on in Resorts World today, be sure to follow young Landon Tice on the social medias. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe on your way out. And also to all of you members out there, we do have a special announcement coming up. I'm going to try to get that done this week. But we are going to try to set it up where we do something pretty special for you guys during the World Series. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys all for supporting the channel and being a part of this fucking nonsense as it all breaks down. What a silly game we play. That's it for me. We'll be here again tomorrow. I think we're going to be back at 11 a.m. is the plan tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.
Good luck, Berk.